All right, Buffalo Bills fans, welcome to this episode of The Walkthrough. I'm your host, Anthony Marino. Happy to be here with you once again, talking everything Buffalo Bills. And, The Walkthrough is part of the Overreaction Sports Network, and it's brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Always appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. And, of course, this is a big one for the Buffalo Bills as they get set to host the Kansas City Chiefs at Highmark Stadium Sunday afternoon. And this is one that so many fans have had circled on their calendar across the NFL, whether you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, or if you just love the game of football, this is one that you are most definitely looking to check out. Now, for us, we've got plenty to talk about in today's show, and we always start off with the injury report that was finalized on Friday afternoon, and I'm just going to go through it with you right now. For linebacker Terrell Bernard, he was a full participant all week, no game status. Good to have him back. We know he was active last week against the Carolina Panthers, did not end up playing. Joey Bosa, a full participant. He got a vet rest day on Wednesday. No big deal. Nothing to see there. Ray Davis was out sick earlier in the week, but he did practice in full on Thursday and Friday. He is good to go. The bad news here, Taron Johnson with a groin injury popped up after practice on Friday, listed as questionable for this game heading into Sunday with the Kansas City Chiefs. Certainly not good news. Again, a limited practice on Friday. We'll have to see what that is at the time of recording. Really no more details as it relates to this, so let's hope it's just something minor and he is able to play and be a full go on Sunday. Daquan Jones, no real surprise there. He did not practice all week. He has been ruled out for Sunday's game. On a good news standpoint, Matt Milano, full participant in practice all week long. So you've got your linebacker duo back ready to go when you've got Milano and Terrell Bernard back in action. For Joshua Palmer, things were trending in the right direction. He did not practice on Wednesday, limited Thursday and Friday, but he has been ruled out for this game on Sunday. Jordan Phillips just got a vet rest day on Wednesday. Other than that, he was full, no game day designation. Good news, Matt Prater, right? He was limited in practice each day, but there's no game day status for him. So by all accounts, he should be good to go and a full participant, not a full participant, but ready to play against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. And finally, the last bit of bad news, linebacker Shaq Thompson. He was limited on Wednesday with a hamstring, did not practice on Thursday, did not practice on Friday. And his game day status, he has been listed as out for Sunday's matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. So certainly as you look at this, no real surprise when it comes to Daquan Jones and Joshua Palmer. Shaq Thompson, that one definitely popped up on us. But when you've got Bernard and Milano back, can feel a little bit okay with that, although Shaq has been playing very well as of late. And the one piece that we're just going to wait on, Taron Johnson being listed as questionable with that popping up during practice on Friday. Certainly not anything that any of us hope is too serious, because when you're talking about going against Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, and their pass-happy offense, you're going to need him on the field to say the least. So each and every week, here on the Walkthrough, the show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Let's take a look at the line heading into the game on Sunday. At this time, the Bills are the underdog, even though they're playing at home, getting 1.5 points from the Kansas City Chiefs. Over-under set at 52.5. Now, obviously, you look at the 52.5. That's something that doesn't come as too much of a surprise. Two high-powered offenses. As you take a look at that, you would expect there to be a good amount of points put up on Sunday afternoon. The Bills being the underdog at home, I get it, right? Even though you're coming off a significant victory in 40-9 over the North Carolina Panthers, the Bills haven't exactly looked like themselves, and the Kansas City Chiefs, although they got off to a rough start this season, are certainly looking like the team that many of us have remembered them to be. But 1.5 points, like, sure, the Bills might use that as some sort of motivation, what that can look like to be the underdog at home. But this is a coin flip game. And that's what everybody would have expected with this, whether the Bills are favored by 1.5 or if they're getting 1.5. As I look at this, it's certainly a coin flip. And from this situation, that's what this game is going to be come Sunday afternoon. Now, listen, before we go any further, in addition to our friends from FanDuel, you know that the walkthrough is brought to you by our good friends at Anchor Bar, home of the original Buffalo Chicken Wing. That's the best place to watch the Buffalo Bills and all your favorite sports teams. You can go to anchorbar.com to see all the locations and get the info for online ordering. Anchor Bar original Buffalo wings, they're fresh. They're never frozen. They're jumbo, high-quality wings, deep fried and sauced to your liking. And listen, they've got over 24 different varieties of sauces and dry rubs for you to choose from. Maybe you're not feeling like wings when you go to watch the game. Anchor Bar locations have a wide variety of choices like appetizers, boneless wings, chicken tenders, pizza, beef on weck, burgers, sandwiches, salads, and so much more. And currently, 16 locations across the country, with 3 new locations opening this fall in Tucson, Arizona, Frisco, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is my weekly reminder that they need to add a location here in Albany, New York. So thank you to everyone at Anchor Bar. Thank you to everybody at FanDuel for the support. And let's talk a little bit more about this game, right? I think you're kind of doing a bit of a temperature check this week as it leads up to the Bills game with the Chiefs. And it's a little bit different for both of these teams. Neither one leading their division right now. Like, imagine if both the Bills and Kansas City Chiefs ends up being wild card teams, like how interesting that wild card weekend could be. But that's certainly getting ahead of ourselves, as there's a lot of football yet to be played. Now, when I say you do a little bit of a temperature check, I mean, listen, you've listened to the shows. You've known from everyone that despite the Bills winning 40-9 last week, there wasn't this overwhelming sense of, hey, the Bills are back and looking exactly the way that we want them to be. A good performance from the defense, of course, going against a backup quarterback, but in Andy Dalton, like, listen, there were some expectations for him coming into this matchup. Many people smarter than me, saying that, gosh, I'd rather go against Bryce Young than Andy Dalton. And the Bills, Bills defense stepped up in a big way in that 40-9 victory. James Cook, of course, running all over the Panthers on Sunday afternoon. That was great. But it all seems to come back to the passing game right now. The play of Josh Allen, kind of how he has looked, him talking about, trusting his feet, maybe being a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket. Of course, the S word, right? You talk about separation with all the wide receivers. And there has been a real kind of magnifying glass on Keon Coleman in recent weeks. And, some of that, I don't know if it's all deserved, but listen, when you get disciplined by the team for the first, the second time, in 1.5 seasons, that's going to be a little bit warranted, I think, when you talk about something like this. And so for Keon Coleman, the spotlight is on him. Steve Smith talked about him for over 20 minutes on his podcast, which certainly doesn't help. So there's just kind of this cloud around the Buffalo Bills offense right now. And again, more specifically around the passing game. And when are things going to start to click there? So when I say the temperature check, right, it's a little bit less around the defense, right? They bounced back after the horrific showing in the first half against the Atlanta Falcons. It's certainly not about the run game, because James Cook was all-world AFC Player of the Week coming off of his performance and just absolutely dominating on 19 carries for 10 yards per rush. But it coming back to the pass game, right? So when you talk about that temperature check, fans want to see the Buffalo Bills passing game look like what it's been in the past. And I say in the past, take whatever you want that to mean. I posted some highlights from the 2023 season a couple days ago, and you've got Josh Allen slinging the ball around to Dalton Kincaid, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox, Ty Johnson. It's kind of all over the place. And of course, then people are getting my mentions of like, oh, the year that they fired the offensive coordinator. My point is, right, it was just good to see what the Buffalo Bills offense when they were pushing the ball downfield. And I, for one, think we've seen just too many of those like dump off little screens to Khalil Shakir, passes basically at the line of scrimmage that look like almost, an extension of the run game. And I'd like to see the Bills, their ability to kind of open up the offense a little bit more. Hopefully Dalton Kincaid, right? No injury designation this week. You see him able to play more of a full workload as opposed to what he did last weekend against the Panthers, where I think he was on the field for maybe 14 snaps. He's going to be a critical piece. We know when we talk about the Chiefs, they're a little bit susceptible to the play action pass. That could lead some things open over the middle, out of the slot for Dalton Kincaid, for Khalil Shakir. That is something that we look to see on Sunday afternoon, and for the Buffalo Bills pass game to become that complementary piece to the run game. We all hear Sean McDermott talk about complementary football, and we felt like that meant in the past, like, well, they need to run the ball more to balance out the passing game. Now you need the passing game to come along a little bit more to balance out the run, to keep defenses on their toes as it relates to James Cook and what he can do. For the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. Like you have these weapons at your disposal. Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown. Like there are a lot of options. And right now the Kansas City Chiefs are playing some great football. Now it's a week-by-week league just because they're playing well and the Bills have left a little bit to be desired. Again, I'm saying leaving a little bit to be desired coming off a 40-9 victory. But with that being said, this is a measuring stick game for the Buffalo Bills. I understand why fans feel the way they do right now. I feel that way. And I'm generally pretty optimistic when it comes to the team, even when they go through a tough stretch. So for me to be feeling that way, I can understand if others have been a little bit more negative. And this is that measuring stick game. People will say, well, look at who the Bills have beaten so far. You can only play who's on your schedule. Like that's it. Like you don't have to apologize for beating the Jets or for beating the Dolphins or for beating the Saints. Like, listen, those are games that you're supposed to win. And they went out and they won each of those games by 2 scores. All right. That's what you're supposed to do. 4-3 Carolina Panthers. You're supposed to beat that team. 7.5-point favorite. You win by 31. I will take it. Right. So you come into this, don't ever apologize for who you've beaten. But now here comes, right, the defending AFC champions, the team that you've beaten the last 4 times you've played them in the regular season, and they've beaten you the last 4 times that you've played one another in the playoffs, right? So I do not have the belief of, oh, well, if they beat us in the regular season this year, it means that we're going to beat them in the playoffs. Like that's kind of nonsense, right? I mean, you have to be that team that can evolve throughout a season, that, yes, you can beat them during the regular season and beat them during the playoffs. And when I say this is a bit of a measuring stick, it's a measuring stick for the fans as well. If the Bills go out and win on Sunday, there's not going to be this great sense of pressure, at least in my mind, around the trade deadline, which is coming up in Tuesday in just a few days. Because people feel like, oh, no, this Bills team, they're capable of winning. They just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. This can happen, barring any catastrophic injuries. Like Bean doesn't need to go out and make any trades. The Bills lose this game on Sunday, if it's close, if it's a blowout, whatever it is, like, the fan base will be clamoring for some sort of action to make a move at whatever position was lacking on Sunday, right? So if the pass defense is looking suspect and Patrick Mahomes tears things up, you're going to be calling for make a move at safety, or you got to do something else at cornerback, or you got to do whatever. If the Bills offense sputters, that wide receiver talk is going to be full blast, right? Whoever you need to get, whoever's on the market, that the Bills need to make a move. So when you talk about where the fan base is, how this is a bit of a measuring stick game, it coming up right before the trade deadline, that amplifies everything. It absolutely amplifies everything that the team is going to do and how they can kind of react to some things moving forward. Now, listen, at the time of recording, they still haven't made any of their call-ups, so we'll see what happens there. 2 popular names in the past were signed to the 53-man roster, Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer. So, we're already expecting to see those guys on Sunday afternoon. Do they call anyone else up? But again, as we go through this, you can talk about different positions where they may need to make a move, where they may need to sign someone or make a trade, whether it be at defensive tackle because they've been ravaged by injuries, Or is it something at safety where they feel like they're just not getting enough from this? And with Taylor Rapp being out for the season and what you get from a Jordan Poyer, will we see more from Jordan Hancock? I certainly hope so. I mean, here's a young guy that definitely flashed, showed some bright signs in the preseason, showed that he could be, live up to the moment last weekend against the Panthers. But listen, playing the Chiefs, wherever you play them, but in this situation at home, that's a little bit different expectations, a little bit different environment, and things are going to be ratcheted up to about a 10 on Sunday at Highmark Stadium. So there's a lot to keep an eye on with this, but it's a gut check time for the Buffalo Bills. And it's a gut check time for Brandon Beane. Like we said, you're coming up to that trade deadline. You might need to get a little creative with what you have to do with the salary cap if you are going to make a move for someone. But if you are looking to contend this year, Sunday is going to be a barometer for you, and you're going to get a better sense of where your roster is and what you may need to do. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. I mean, of course we're keeping an eye on it, right? Like Buffalo Bills fans, that's what we do. And, as you're here too, make sure you comment, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, share this show, not just the walkthrough, right? Like everything that we have here at the Overreaction Sports Network, you want to be a part of. So whether you're listening to John Fina or Joe Miller or Jerry Ostrowski or Zig Frikoski or Dan Freddy, listen, we got you covered throughout the week. Make sure that you're subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you get all these great shows each and every week and get the breakdown following the game on Sunday. The last thing that we kind of look at, and I feel like there's been a little bit of this doom and gloom, but let's talk about a little bit of the positive, right? Maxwell Hairston. Holy cow. Nobody saw that coming last week with him being active against the Carolina Panthers and then playing in a rotation with Tre'Davious White, right? For him to come out on the field to make that recovery in such a short period of time after being activated with his the practice window, great to see, right? Let's see the development from this young man, what he can continue to do. He brings a speed element that Tre'Davious White does not. I'm expecting there to be a little bit of a rotation for the two on Sunday once again. I don't look at Sean McDermott to be the type that he's just going to go 100% with the rookie right away. He trusts Tre'Davious White and obviously his experience in playing against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. But that's something we'll keep an eye on. And again, something to look forward to. Maxwell Hairston continuing to grow in what he can do. You talk about the defensive tackle position, the injuries to Daquan Jones, of course, Ed Oliver, TJ Sanders, Valerio Ogunjobi coming back. Didn't have a crazy game against the Carolina Panthers, but you can look at this and say, okay, here's a guy that can play one technique for us. You sign Jordan Phillips to the roster, but Larry Ogunjobi being back, ready to go. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. And another piece to that defensive line that played pretty well last week against the Carolina Panthers. A guy that really made that defensive line tick, Michael Hoyt. And this was a guy, the first defensive free agent that the Bills signed this offseason. I can't remember if it was Hoyt or Palmer that was signed first, but he was a priority for the Bills, right? A 3-year signing. They knew about the suspension. They were committed to him and what he could bring to the team. And we know that he's that chess piece, right? He's going to bring some flexibility. And he was an absolute terror against the Carolina Panthers. And that's great to see because the Bills have not really had that movable chess piece. Like, again, we talk about Lorenzo Alexander and what he was in the past. But to see him come in, play with his hair on fire, and just absolutely deliver in his first game. Now, I got to imagine the adrenaline was like, again, at a 20, just ready to go in that first game of action coming off the suspension. Well, if Hoyt was at a 20 against the Panthers, he's going to be like double that when it comes to playing the Kansas City Chiefs at Highmark Stadium, his first game in Highmark Stadium on Sunday afternoon. So if he can continue to kind of wreak some havoc in the backfield, the Buffalo Bills, they're going to need to get that pressure with the front four on Patrick Mahomes. You know that you get him out of the pocket, you make him uncomfortable, that gives you a chance, right? But if you can't get home with those four, then it's going to be an issue, and it could be a long afternoon for the Buffalo Bills. But that's not what I'm expecting. Again, with all the kind of doom and gloom that's been out there, I'm always an optimist with this team. And I think there's enough of a reason, again, right? You can talk about if you want to focus on the positive, Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano coming back. You like to see that. these editions with Maxwell Harrison and Larry Ogunjobi, and Michael Hoyt. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I could use some more coffee or something like that. But it's going to be a fun one on Sunday afternoon. I truly hope and I truly believe that. And I know that Bills Mafia is going to show up just as you always do. You're going to be loud, you're going to be proud, and you're going to make things difficult for the Kansas City Chiefs. So listen, I'm going to get out of here for now. It's time to get ready for kickoff for all of you, whatever you're doing, whatever you have planned. We hope you have a great time. If you're attending the game in person, if you're watching at home with friends, if you're going to Anchor Bar to enjoy their fantastic menu at one of their 16 locations, we hope you enjoy yourself. We hope the Bills win, and we'll see you again next week. Go Bills, and I'll talk to y'all soon.